Ladies and gentlemen, gather round because you are among friends and we are about to have a seriously real good boot talk. Joining me today is social media and style forum legend, JDSASSO.
Oh, what an intro.
Yes.
I don't know if that's all true, but it's great to be here with you.
Welcome, my friend. It is a distinct honor and pleasure to have you on today. Let me start out by saying actually that I kind of want to walk through your whole evolution, because I remember back in 2012, 2013, when I was first shopping for my first pair of Alden indie boots, my first real boot, I was looking on Style Forum, and you were like in the Alden Style Forum, you were one of the most prominent members discussing Aldens on Style Forum back then. And so I figure if you were into Alden back then before I even got started, like, when did you get started?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so kind of walk me through what was the year, what was your first pair of Aldens, what was your introduction?
Yeah, it's great to be here, man. Good to talk to you. I know we've been connected through social media for a long time, but it's good to say hello in person, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Aldens have a special place in my heart going back to the mid '90s when I used to walk by the shop, the Alden and Madison shop, on my daily commute to work, because I worked in Midtown at the time. So at that time, it was just looking through the windows, saying, "Wow, those look great. I better not go in there because it would probably lead to multiple pairs, right?" So I kind of just did some window shopping for a while,
Right.
and it just I kind of got into Italian shoes for a while. I used to go to Italy during the summers, and I would bring an empty suitcase and come back with multiple pairs.
Really?
Yeah. I
Cool.
used to really enjoy the Italian footwear. But
Wow.
around, I've always had I have very flat feet since forever. I
Okay.
inherited that from my father. I've given it to my son.
Yeah.
So it's a
As lots
family
of do.
gift. So I've always had trouble with my feet aching and kind of like weak ankles. And I twisted my ankle. I think I've done it many times, but I did it in like 2009, I think. And I went
Okay.
to the podiatrist, and he's telling me all these things. You have to wear your orthotics regularly. And then he's kind of, as I'm leaving, he's kind of taking a look at my shoes, and he said, you should really invest in some better shoes if you have such bad feet. Maybe try like an Alden or an Allen Edmonds, or a good sturdy shoe.
Interesting.
So I took that as my first opportunity to start getting into Alden.
Right.
And it started. I think my first model was a J. Crew model, because that was right around the time J. Crew started selling Alden as well.
Okay. Wow.
And so, well, this was around 2009, 2010.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my first one was I think it was like I think they still sell it. It's the like the burnished tan wingtip.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then the next model was an indie. And once I found the comfort of that indie boot, it was like, fireworks going off, like light bulbs in my head, like, wow, this is what a well-made, comfortable shoe can actually do, right?
Yes.
Right. And Alden is originally an orthopedic brand. So
Mm-hmm.
that True Balance Last is made for a specific foot problem. So all of a sudden, my feet don't ache. I can walk a long way, right? My calves don't hurt as much. So all these things
Right.
started to materialize that made me say, hey, if one pair is good, 2 or 3 pairs probably even better for my aching feet, right? So that's when I started to get into Style Forum.
Okay.
And when you get into Style Forum, there's a lot of enablers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you've gone down that road.
Right. I did go down that road because back in, like I said, I was going to school in DC at the time, and there's a Alden of DC shop.
Right.
And it was right around the time I had a coworker who had a pair of indie boots, and I just remember staring at them and I'm like, oh my God, those are so, I can't put my finger on it, but there's something magical about the silhouette, just how they look. And so sure enough, Going to school, you know, in DC, I had the opportunity to walk in and try some on and stuff. And so I ordered a pair of Alden Indies. I've described it as stepping into a new dimension. Once you step into the true balance last, it's like the first time you've ever worn a real shoe, you know, and
Exactly.
I'm glad I hear that echoed through you, because that's the same experience I had. As soon as you try them on, no amount of talking can describe what that's like. And I remember my wife and I, we took our honeymoon down to Costa Rica, and I wore those boots, and I just felt like Indiana Jones, like I'm going to international travel, and I'm wearing indie boots, and my God, are they so comfortable. Like when you're traveling, like I don't feel the need to like kick them off when I'm on the plane.
Yeah.
And walking around carrying heavy luggage, it's like your foot just feels so centered and so grounded, and so, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to put in words, right? But it's a comfort that, like I said, affects just not your feet, but all of your body, right? You know, when you think about it, you have 150 or 200 pounds of weight or whatever it is, you know, on your feet,
Right.
with all these steps. And I have flat feet, you know, to begin with, so that's, you know, I have no arches for support.
Right.
So you take that orthopedic last and fix what's going on there, and you're just like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. And speaking speaking of how much pounds you have on your boots, so here's joke question number one. I'll go first, but how many pounds did you gain over Christmas dinner yesterday?
Well, you know, you should probably say, how many pounds have you gained since quarantine, right? Because it's been a steady slope.
This is true.
Yeah, I'm not happy with but I think a lot of people in this boat, right? You're kind of stuck at home, and you have food all around you all day, and you just kind of like walk by it. And
yes,
you know, I'll be honest, I don't have very good willpower when it comes to avoiding. And I've started to cook a little through quarantine, like a lot of people have, right? So I've finally got a bunch of recipes from my mother that
cool.
I said, you know, let me learn how to make some of these dishes. So putting on some pounds, you know. Putting on some pounds. How about you?
Me too. I'm up at 5 pounds. I'm not going to stand up, because then you'll see my love handles falling over.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Yes, sir. Like you said, this quarantine has been hard on all of us. It was a crime against my waistline, to say the very least. So,
yes, I hear you.
One of the points you made, and dang it, why didn't we have this talk like 5 years ago? So you got into Alden for medical reasons. I should have had that excuse all along. I could have justified this way easier to my wife if I had that.
There you go. You can't put a price on health, right, Dale?
That is 100% true, sir.
Yeah. There you go. We solved it. We solved the problem.
We solved the problem. Anybody listening, if you're trying to justify your expensive shoe habit to your significant other, please listen to our advice. For the love of God.
There you go.
For your sake. For medical reason.
Yeah, that's right.
But actually, that leads me to another thing. All jokes aside, I read an article, probably 10 years ago, very fascinating. And I've searched for it since, I can't find it. But basically, they did a study, people in different parts of the world, and if they had knee and back issues. And it turns out that all the knee and back issues exist in the first world, which is where people all have shoes. So like in places like, you know, South America, South Africa, and places like this, Southeast Asia, where a lot of people are growing up in villages, they don't have access to like shoes like we do. They actually don't have knee and back issues like we do. That always like resonated with me, because I think like when I put on a pair of sneakers, like my foot just feels so tight and constricted. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel healthy. And I only put them on to run. The indie boot, or like the Grant Stone Leo last, or like a last that really, I feel like really just nestles my foot. I don't feel like it's causing any of those issues, because I do have a bad back. Just overall, I feel so much better with a good pair of boots with a last that fits my foot. So
I agree. Yeah. I get that question from a lot of people all the time. Like, why are you wearing boots in the summer? Like, when are you gonna put on flip-flops, or when are you gonna put on sneakers? And I usually say it's really just for comfort, right? If even with orthotics, if I put on a pair of sneakers and try to walk, even if it's a dog walk, right? A 20-minute walk, I really feel it at the end of the walk. So that's why I keep boots on, because that extra support of that last, and the extra, the way the indie boots have the the speed hooks, I can get a really nice tight fit around my ankle. That comfort is worth more to me than putting on a pair of sneakers in the summer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Amen to that, my friend. Amen. Yeah, like I said, I only put on sneakers to jog. And well, for example, last night I threw some on it was freezing cold. I had to throw something on to lock up my hot tub. And like, I'm just thinking, wow, these don't feel good. They just, I don't know.
Yeah. When you're used to, I have arguments with my son all the time because he's 14, almost
Okay.
15, right? So he's into sneakers, of course. So we go to buy sneakers, and looking at these sneakers, I'm like, wait a minute, how much are these? And they're not even leather. They don't even make these expensive sneakers with leather these days. And I'm like, you're gonna need some support for your feet, right? And I'm just, I'm thinking, when I was young, all of our sneakers were leather. Now these, especially the high tech basketball shoes, I honestly don't even know what they're made of, but they're some kind of synthetics or plastics, and I always wonder, the NBA stars, of course, are endorsing them. They get their paycheck, but how good really are they? I don't know, right?
Great question. Yes, exactly. And how much does it cost to produce one of those? I mean,
Yeah,
you could,
exactly, right?
yeah, I don't even look at the price, because I know, just being so deep into this other niche, that I can't even look at the price of those, because they get into the hundreds. Like, they'll get over $200-$300.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a totally different conversation, but yeah, I guess that's why we put on indies. We feel a lot different.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's a tough pill to swallow, though. Oh God, like, and I just can't help but think how much it costs Nike to produce those. Like,
Yeah, you probably don't want to know, right?
yeah, I don't. Yeah, better not to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so okay, so you're really into Alden, but I see that you also have some other brands. So I see that sometimes you start throwing on your Red Wings, like you'll get into a kick. And I
Yeah.
noticed, like, sometimes just like for a week straight, you'll just wear your Red Wings. I'd kind of like to take a minute to like talk about each brand that you have. So tell me about your Red Wings. Did they come before or after Alden, or how did that work?
I think my first pair of Red Wings came a little before my
Okay.
Aldens. Yeah, maybe a year or two before. And again, it was through J. Crew. I think I really just needed a good winter boot, and the Red Wing model they had a nice thick lug commando sole, and it was I think it was just an opportunity that I got them at a great deal, and I said, okay, look, Heritage USA brand, and I didn't really know that much about them at the time. That first pair I had served me really well for about 10 years.
Yeah.
So good fit, very very well made. Not an orthopedic boot, right, like an indie boot, but another great heritage American boot that once you go down that rabbit hole as well, especially after they kind of revived the heritage line, or I don't know if it was revive is the right word, but that whole heritage line is really incredible. I think I'm down to two now, but I usually fluctuate, a handful of pairs that I like to keep in the collection. I really like their mock toes with the what do they call it? The Christie sole, the white sole.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those are comfortable. They're great.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Those are
Yeah.
the, and actually, it's funny you bring that up. Grant Stone they just dropped their brass boot. I don't know if you saw those. The brass boot is kind of like the Red Wing mock toe in certain ways. Their pair on the Saddle Tan Veg Badalassi has their own proprietary Grant Stone Christie wedge sole. It's very attractive.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, my one buddy Dave at the Vintage Future, he just got a pair, and I have a pair on the way now too. I couldn't resist. They're so beautiful. Like you said, I think Red Wing really nails that mock toe look, especially on the Christie sole. The Christie sole, I think, gets a bad rap. I think Christie soles are very attractive and a lot of fun to wear, given the circumstance. Like, do I want to wear the Christie sole every day? No, but every now and then it's nice, because it's kind of like wearing a sneaker while still wearing a boot.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I like those soles too. They you're right. They do get a bad rap for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But they were made for a purpose, right? They're just not just aesthetic, that they were made for, I think, a specific purpose, so that if you're wearing them out, you don't get mud and everything stuck like you would like in a commando sole. So they have their purpose.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's partly why I love flat soles now, especially leather soles. I'm finding that I think leather soles might be my favorite in terms of comfort and in terms of flex and just in terms of you're not dragging dirt in from outside. You know what I mean? That's
True.
great. That's so
That's true. Yeah, good point. I have a couple pair of Vibergs now. I went through some shell in Viberg. Those are, of course, you don't really have to say much about them if you're in the boot community. Vibergs are tanks, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I always keep a couple pair in the arsenal. I think my favorite pair is from Milo Shop in Canada. They did a mushroom chamois on a thick commando sole, which is beautiful. It's a plain toe boot, but it's beautiful boot.
Right.
So I keep them in the rotation. Do you have Vibergs as well?
Yeah, I have a few pairs. Their standard brown Chrome Excel service boot, as well as their Color 8 Chrome Excel service boot. And I just got a pair of their natural shell on the 2020 last as well.
Oh, those are really nice. Yeah,
they're nice. But I'll be honest, that 2020 last does not agree with my foot. It's it's so narrow. And part of what I love about Alden True Balance and Viberg 2030 is it really lets my foot feel like my foot. It doesn't like interrupt my foot in any unnatural way. That 2020 last is just kind of, I don't know. It's narrow. I have wide feet, so yeah, I don't know that the 2020 last is for me. Let's just say.
I've never tried that. I've only seen it online. So my initial reaction to seeing it was it does look a bit more narrow. So that I had the same hesitation, but I think there you go. You confirmed it.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? If there was an Alden equivalent, I would say it's probably the Plaza last. Have you ever tried the Alden Plaza last before?
Yeah, Plaza I can do. I have a bunch of pairs on Plaza. It's a nice dressy last.
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah, that's what I'd most compare it to. But even like the taper in the waist, it just cuts in. And I don't know, there's just something about it. It doesn't fit my foot the way I'd love it to. So I don't know. I might end up moving those. I'm on the fence because they are kind of grail boots, but it's like I'm just not reaching for them as much. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see. The jury's out on those.
Got it. Okay.
So yeah, but that's not to say it wouldn't work for your foot. It's just for me, like my feet, they're very wide. Like this brings us back to you said that you used to buy Italian shoes. Well, this is basically true of all the shoes made on the Iberian Peninsula. So Italy, Portugal, Spain, their shoes are very dressy, very sleek, but very narrow and pointy, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's why they weren't agreeing with your foot as much, because the people in that region, their feet are shaped that way. So that's why they shaped their lasts that way. Whereas the English shoes, which is, I believe, where the Americans and the Canadians get their lasts, derive influence for their lasts from. So like the UK, Germany, places like that, guys have wider feet. For example, Trickers, their lasts are more robust. And so that's why these UK shoe sizes,
exactly.
they're wider, and I think they fit my foot better for that reason. And so maybe that's why your foot is more tailored to the American lasts and the UK lasts. You know what I mean?
You're right. You're right. I didn't do myself any favors by wearing those shoes, although they were beautiful.
Yeah.
Because of that shape, I couldn't really fit. I have prescription orthotics, and because of the shape of those lasts, I couldn't really wear them, and I stopped wearing them for a while, and ended up doing a lot of damage and developing tendonitis from not wearing orthotics. So,
right.
But when you're young, you don't think about those things, right? So, but they catch up to you.
They do. Everything does, sir.
Listen to your doctors.
Yeah, listen to the doctors. Yep, exactly. Listen to Dr. Jones as well.
Yeah, Dr. Jones. That's right.
The ultimate doctor, who's not really a doctor.
That's right. Dr. Jones.
Yes, exactly. You have Aldens, you have Red Wings, you have Vibergs. Are there any other like brands that you really love or that you keep around in your closet that maybe we don't know about, maybe you don't post as much?
No, that in terms of boots, that's really it. Just those three. that's really been it for the past, let's say 10, 12, about past 12 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Gotcha. Cool. Cool. Good stuff. Me personally, I'm the same. Like you probably see me. I post a lot of Trumans and a lot of Grant Stones these days. Those have kind of been for me, like for the price point, it's more sustainable. Yeah, Alden was my love for a long time, but man, it was hurting me. It was hurting the bank account. And Viberg, oh my God, that's another story. That's like even
Yeah,
higher. So
exactly.
it's harder. It's harder to keep buying boots from those two brands for me. That's why like Truman, they're kind of in the $300-400 range, and Grant Stone, they're kind of in that. Some of them are below 300, which to me that's just a phenomenal value. You
Yeah,
know,
they're a great value, right?
yeah, definitely, definitely. So that's why it's like I could afford like 4 or 5 pairs of Aldens a year, or I could get like 10 pair Grant Stone a year. So it's like,
Yeah.
well,
You have to be practical. And, I think a lot of guys, when they develop a big collection, they kind of get to a point where you're saying, okay, if I'm going to get something, it has to be very special. And you do like a 1 in, 1 out rule. So
yeah,
you try to build your collection with pieces that, if you're not wearing them anymore, if they don't fit perfectly right, it's something that you can, pass on to the secondary market that'll still hold good value.
that's true.
And that, I think that's a skill or a trick or whatever you want to say to keeping your collection in a to a point where it doesn't overwhelm you in terms of how many you have or financially.
That's a really good point. And I think you're probably one of the most qualified people to talk on this. You know what I mean? Because I'm getting to that point where it's like it's overwhelming now. Because I don't know. Some mornings I can't pick. Like, what pair do I pick? I'm probably have 50 pair now of boots.
Wow, you're
And
up there. Wow, yeah.
maybe I'd have to double check. But
50, 70, 80. You
yeah,
don't want to say.
who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
But like I have a hard time letting some go because part of the problem is like for example, I have some snuff suede Alden plain toe boots, but for example, like I haven't worn those in probably I don't know, a year. But I know that there's gonna come a day where I want to wear them again. You know what I mean? And so that's for that reason. Like they're not getting current wear. I broke them in and I gave them a lot of love when they were new, but now they're just kind of sitting in the closet collecting dust. And it's like, well, I don't want to sell those because I know there will be a day where I'm going to love to wear those again. It's just that issue. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you keep some pairs around that you don't wear, but like 5 years from now, you're going to love to throw them on again?
I think I used to be like that. But there comes to a point where you just say, the thing is, when you have a big collection, you're likely to not reach for something for even a small detail, right? Like
Yeah.
when I put these boots on, I just don't like the way the toe looks. It's a great boot. I paid a lot, but the shape of this toe, I thought I'd like, but you end up keeping them, right? So little things
Yeah.
will make you not reach for a boot when you have a big collection. And that's the point where you say, am I really going to wear these again? Probably, you might tell yourself you're going to wear them, but you probably won't.
Yeah.
So I think over the past 5 years, I only try to keep things I really love. And, I had a couple pair of color 4 Aldens from 2012 when they put a couple pair on the market.
Okay.
And everybody just goes crazy over color 4. And
That's
to
true.
be honest, I like them. I didn't go crazy over them.
Okay.
I actually found some of my color 8s to be more attractive. And
Yeah.
I sold 2 color 4 boots, and all the community was like, how could you sell them? That's such a rare boot. And I said, it just doesn't matter, right? It could be, they could have been Julius Caesar's boots, but
Yeah.
if I'm not gonna wear them, it doesn't really matter. So,
Yeah.
and I think it's good. It's good for the community that there's a lot of resale on the secondary market, because it keeps things interesting. There's a lot of trading that goes on. It's once you get into it, it's really interesting, right? There's always some kind of, I'm looking to trade this and sell this, and I'll give you my spot on this future order. It almost feels like a NFL draft sometimes. It's
Yeah. That's
you know
That's totally what it can turn into. Yeah, absolutely. Because having your spot on those lists, that's huge. You know what I mean? Like I've been on some rare Alden lists for 2 years, and I mentioned this in my unboxing, these Maduro shell Grantstones that I just don't see myself, because I'm a common size, I just don't see myself ever getting an email. For example, how long did it take you to get your first offer on some rare shell?
Well, that's a good question. This will kind of give you an idea, how much that game has changed. Because when I first started buying, let's say 2010,
Yeah.
you could literally go take the Shoe Mart. You could go to the Shoe Mart website, and there would be all their offerings: Ravello shell wingtip boots, cigar shell NSTs, whiskey plain toes. Like, click and buy. There was no list. There was no 12-month wait.
Wow.
You wanted to buy two, you could buy two.
What?
It was a totally different game. And we're not talking 50 years ago, right? This was I'm like 2010, 11, or 9, 10, 11, around that time. So
Right.
there was, if a retailer did a special makeup, they were free to put it on their website, and a lot of them did. And I think that's how I got my first Ravello shell boot from the Shoe Mart. And I remember one day, I think it was 2010 or 11, calling the guys at Madison, say, "Hey, I want to get a Ravello plain toe. You got any in stock?" "Yeah." "What's your size?" "Okay, we got them. You get them tomorrow." Right? So different, totally different world. And the way the Alden community blew up during the whole made in USA phase of the like 10 years ago or so. I guess that really helped the brand. And
Yeah.
the demand has just, I met guy by the name of MacArthur on Style Form. So he was an older gentleman, and he had been wearing Aldens for many years. And he had a huge collection, and we used to talk. We actually became very good friends. And he told me that when Alden first started making exotics, because it was always color 8 and black, and then I don't know the exact date. Maybe it was in the early 90s. I'm not sure, but that was the time where you could actually go to. He had a great relationship with Alden of San Francisco, and he would say, "Hey, ask them to make me up a Plaza cap toe boot in cigar, just one for me," and they do it. So it was a totally different. Can you imagine that now, right?
No, I can't. I can't even imagine that. But I'm so thankful that, because you have this perspective, because you've been in it. I'd say you got into Alden when it was ripe to get into Alden. I came far too late to the game, I think, because 2013 was my first indie boot, but 2014, 2015 is when I really started to get more into it. And like, just hearing all this, like what you're saying, like how it was before, like Aldens used to cost like 300. You used to be able to get the indie boot for $350, from the Shoe Mart. Probably less if you go back far enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I saw an interview with some Alden affiliate that they were talking about how their shell back in the way back in the day, like World War II era, or probably before, they were talking about how their shell one day would cost $5 a pair, and that just sounded absurd at the time.
Right.
Could you imagine what they'd say if they knew that they were going for like $800 now?
Can you imagine, right? It's just, it's been talked about a lot, why it's so hard to get some of them, and why it's so rare. I guess it's, and I know that the tannery process is extremely lengthy and detailed and intricate, and there's just not not a lot of tanneries that do. I don't know how many, if it's a handful in the States, what the right number is, but the thing is, nobody does it like Horween.
True.
Right? And nobody finishes it into finished product like Alden. So
that's true.
If you're a fan, there's not a lot of substitute, right?
Right. Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that smell, you can't beat the smell either.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at that. That's a thing of beauty, right?
Oh God.
That's gorgeous.
look at the gloss, the mirrorness,
Yeah.
the character of the grain. It's really, oh my God, it's so fascinating to look at. Like I just filmed my unboxing video of these outside, and it's so difficult to capture. You have to get just the right angle, but once you get it at the right angle, you see past the shine and you could see into the grain, and it's just fascinating.
It's gorgeous, right? Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah, definitely.
The question is, are you going to wear them or just keep them on the shelf?
Those are shelfers for now.
Oh, first.
I'm not putting them on just yet.
Those are beautiful. Yeah.
Eventually I'll throw them on, but for now I'm kind of basking in their newness. Once you start wearing them, that really nice new smell wears off. And I don't think it's because I think that smell wears off. I'm starting to realize this. I think it's just not so much from wearing them, it's from being alive in the boot. Like your body's 98.6 degrees, right? I think to a certain degree, this is what one of my recent discoveries, realizations, I'll say, is that I think some of the patina doesn't come from walking in the boots, if that makes sense. It's from your body heat cooking the boots. Does that make sense? Like
that's a really good point, right? Yeah, that's a good point, right? Your
yeah.
body temperature's almost 100 degrees, and not to mention all the perspiration that comes off of your body. I'm sure that has an effect on the leather. Yeah.
Right. I think just by being alive and your body being a mechanism of heat, I think it cooks off a lot of that original, like really good Horween smell that it has. That's another reason why I kind of want to just let them sit new for a little bit, just admire them,
Enjoy them. Yeah. Yeah. There's a certain scent to shell. You know what?
Yeah.
One of my favorite boots, brand new, is anything that's in reverse tobacco chamois or reverse earth chamois. That the oils in those leathers are just so fragrant.
Yes.
That you put that boot on, and you could be sitting at your desk and you're like, yeah, that's the reverse chamois. It's has a unique smell.
Yeah, you're right. I think I have 2 pair of chamois. Yeah, the reverse tobacco chamois, man. Oh, I got a pair of those from Context Clothing when they did their original Roy boot run. They had 1 pair left in my size on the reverse tobacco chamois, and I'm still so happy with those. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's a very, very, very rugged boot, right? That boot can take a heck of a beating.
Oh, that too. Yeah. So it's such a rugged leather. Yeah, that's for sure. So you first started your Alden collection. Yeah, like I said, I saw you on Styleform. Styleform was so cool back in the day because I remember I would Google just anything about Alden, and sure enough, there's a Styleform page, like one out of 220,000.
Yeah,
on the Styleform.
Very, very active community on Styleform.
That's for sure, and such a friendly community too. Such a great place to exchange like really lengthy ideas. I would throw out a question a time or two, and I would just get these wall of text responses, multi-paragraph responses, just some really great guys helping each other out. And the descriptions between, I love seeing like people describing, this is where I learned so much about Alden and different leathers, is like they would describe, like they compare the different shell colors. So they'd compare like Ravello to whiskey and whiskey to tobacco shell, and like how certain batches of whiskey look like tobacco shell, you know what I mean, or something to that effect. Like, but the more you wear these, the more they turn into amaretto, that sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. There's a lot of passion in the community, right? People are generally want to help each other in the thread, and they're always very accommodating to anyone who comes in new. And I think, a lot of that was set by the gentleman I mentioned before, MacArthur, who was, he set a tone of civility. When people, there are a couple threads in Styleform that kind of can go sideways a little bit, and he tried to not let that happen. Right, we're gentlemen here. We're discussing shoes, and there's no need for any harsh language or insulting or pettiness. And it was interesting. At the same time, the discussions could get pretty intricate and go down many pages. And Mac would always say, "Don't forget, guys, we're we're talking about shoes here. They're not Rembrandts. So, people would be like, I want to know exactly how to do the pen trick in the creases because I want my creases to be exactly symmetrical between the two boots. And he would say, they're boots.
Yeah.
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 Okay. They're not your average everyday boot, but they're boots. Wear them. Enjoy them. They're not Rembrandts. And he would always say, wear them in good health. And I think that has continued on the board.
That is so cool to hear you talk about MacArthur, because every year you guys do and I've done this too, a tribute to Uncle Mac, you call him, right?
Right.
And he's the one I didn't know that. He's the one that started the wear your shoes in good health.
Exactly.
That's fascinating because I repeat that to this day, and I didn't even know he was the originator of that idea. That is so cool because it's such a great message. You know what I mean? It's like, because it takes you beyond the materialism, right? Because which is such what this whole hobby is wrought with, is people want to attribute it to materialism. But I think there is something beyond materialism with this stuff, because it really does. I feel that it, when you love your boots and when they're comfortable, when they're good for your body structure, if they allow you to walk better and enjoy life better, I think that they do bring you better health, and that transcends materialism. And so that's what I love about it. Yeah.
Exactly. And I've told many people many times, I love the rare shell boots as much as anybody, but if I had to pick one boot, I would probably pick a standard Indy that I had to wear, because that does me the best in terms of comfort and overall satisfaction, right? I love the rare shell makeups like anybody. And a lot of the guys on Style Forum got to know Mac in a personal way, and we used to talk a lot offline about things. Most of the time we would talk about things other than shoes. He was a good mentor to a lot of us, and he would tell a story. Look, when I was growing up, when I first went to work, we got Aldens because they were great American made shoes. Yeah, there were other great American made shoes at the time as well. It wasn't like today where you didn't have a lot of options. Yeah, I was into Aldens, and we had shell cordovan, black and color 8, but we got the basics. We looked for the basics to complete our professional wardrobes, because in the 50s, 60s, people were wearing suits 5 days a week most of the time, right?
Right.
And he said, he said, look, I've fallen into this exotic shell world a little bit, but don't let that like you were mentioning, don't let that overcome the basic premise of why you wear a good shoe, for comfort, for durability, for long lasting value. You want to buy some shell, that's a great investment, right? Because shell is going to last you 15, 20 years. But don't go crazy, guys, with having to have the next. And look, I fall into it too. I think everybody does, because to us shoe lovers, we pick it up and it's like a work of art, right? It's a beautiful production. So
yes. And I think too, it strikes like a deep chord in us, like in terms of heritage, and in terms of like our immortal memory. You know what I mean? Like, have you ever heard of the concept of it's genetic memory? Are you familiar with that? Genetic memory. So like there's this new upcoming thing in the health field, which is called epigenetics, which is essentially like you have your genes as they're written, but and that's what most medicine deals with, but you also have your genes. You have control of how those genes are expressed, and the expression is actually how you live your life. The expression of those genes is actually the most impactful on your overall health, and it goes deeper than that. There are things that go deeper than your own individual life's experiences. And so genetic memory deals with things that, like, you recognize something even though you weren't alive at the time. Maybe your great grandfather back in the old country knew a shoemaker and he would do something like this. And so that's why when you look at this, it strikes like a deeper chord than just you seeing a boot. Like maybe there's something generational about this type of an object.
Very interesting, because my great grandfather was a shoemaker, came over from Italy, and he was a shoemaker.
No kidding.
So that's an interesting point. I'll have to try to read more about that.
Yeah, definitely. So maybe you have it somewhere in your genetic memory. and maybe even his grandfather made shoes and boots too, you know, going back hundreds,
Right. You're right.
thousands of years. And so you have a genetic predisposition to find things like this very appealing. So, I mean,
I like that.
yeah, it's nuts, and it sounds kind of woo woo, I know, but at the same time, when I first, like you're talking about, when you first hold and put on your first pair of Aldens, there's something about it that just I don't know. It's like a realization moment or an epiphany moment. That's like something you can't quite put your finger on, but it's an instant. You know that this is like what you were meant to wear.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
You know that this was meant for you. That's really interesting. So you're of Italian heritage then? Your family came
Yes.
from Italy? Okay.
Yeah, both sides. Yes.
Oh wow. Okay. Awesome.
Mother side and father side, right?
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, I never met my great grandfather, but that was his trade. So
wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So maybe somewhere in the family, yeah, that's like exactly what you just said.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's hidden in your genetic memory somewhere, my friend. So, do you speak any Italiano?
I can speak a little bit.
Okay.
It's funny, on my first trip to Italy, 96, I spoke very, very little. And I met some family, and they really didn't speak English either. So, we had a bit of a hard time communicating, but I just remember them saying to me, "What do you mean you don't speak any Italian? Like, what happened? What happened to the family?" It's a story that's pretty much applicable to most, right? Most immigrants to the U.S. After a while, after a couple generations, you lose the language, right? Unless you use it every day, which you really don't.
That's true.
For most people, I think. So I kind of said, I knew some words, just I kind of took it upon myself to try, and I have always loved languages, so I just picked some up for myself, so that when I speak to whatever family we have left there, I can at least communicate a little bit or get some points across.
That's cool. That's awesome. I took some Italian in college. I speak Spanish, and I put Italian words in it, and so I could kind of pass for speaking Italian.
Yeah. I think a lot of the times you can get the gist if you're fluent in one.
Yeah,
and
that's
you can understand the other.
They're so close. That's really cool. Okay, so you're of Italian heritage. That's good to know. So, just out of curiosity, what brought you to Italy so many times?
Growing up, I loved hearing stories from my grandparents about where they were from and what it was like.
Okay.
Right. So my whole life, I always wanted to go. My parents went on their honeymoon, and they always said, "Okay, one day we're going to go. One day we're going to go." And I didn't really get a chance to go until I was in my 20s. Being of Italian descent is one thing to go and see where your family is from, but I think everyone usually falls in love with Italy.
Yeah.
And meeting a couple cousins, although they were distant cousins, when you meet family, even if they're a bit distant, you instantly feel that connection.
Yeah.
And the first time I went, it was just incredible. I was walking in my grandfather's small village. The cousin I'm with starts talking to an older gentleman, like sitting in the piazza as they do, just relaxing the day away. And they start talking, and it turns out this gentleman remembered my grandfather from when he was 18, right before he left for the States. So that just like really resonated with me. Wow, I found a connection to my grandfather's past. And same thing with my grandmother's side, like meeting people from her part of the village that remembered her, meeting her cousins. It's just, so
yeah.
that in connection with just falling in love with the culture, the history, the food, the fashion. I just drunk it all in. I just loved it. So I couldn't get enough. So I went back like 6 years in a row.
Wow.
6 summers in a row or something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I just fell in love. Literally, I would go with one pair of shoes and an empty suitcase and say, I'm just going to buy stuff to bring back.
Absolutely. That is amazing. Wow.
Yeah, fun times.
Yeah. Once you find a place that you're in love with, and I mean, it's that romantic type feel that Italy has too. I've been once in my life when I was 18, right before I went off to join the military. My mom and I took a trip to Italy and, well, to Europe. We did like a big tour. It was 2 weeks, and Italy was by far the country that I said it's the one that I want to return to by far, vastly over any of the other ones. Like, it was just, there's an essence to it that, I mean, and the food, oh my God, every place you go to is just the best Italian food you've ever had.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you think that, oh, it's just that one unique place, but then you go to another place and that's the best.
Yeah. There's a lot to be offered there. Yeah. A lot
Yeah.
to be had.
Yeah, there's so much to love about Italy and their leather works and just all of it. Oh, it's an incredible place. So, oh, and you know, I like Switzerland too. And I did get to tour a watch. I forget at the time what it was, but one of the watchmakers there in Switzerland. That was a fun place. I think I took a dip in Lake Lucerne when I was there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was fun. There's something really cool about visiting the old world and, you know, going back and getting in touch with your roots. And that's a really cool story about meeting somebody that knew your grandfather. That's nuts.
Yeah, right. So my grandfather left in 1928, and this was 1996, my first trip.
Wow.
So that was a long time, and he remembered him. It was pretty interesting.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
and
pretty cool.
think of everything that took place between then, like World War One, World War Two, like just everything that's happened. That's like 70 years difference,
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. Imagine that. Yeah, that blew me away.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of those life moments you'll never forget, that's for sure.
Right. That my grandfather left 70 years ago. He went to some town this guy never heard of, and that other
Yeah,
guy stayed in that small village, and their lives just went like this. But he's still there, and he remembered it just a lot goes through your head. It's
yeah.
that's how life is.
Definitely, that's true. That's true. And me personally, I'm not of Italian heritage myself, but I grew up in a town called Youngstown, Ohio. It's an Italian town. In fact, it's
Yeah,
a little mafia town, actually.
it
So
is. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Like every restaurant there is an old Italian family run restaurant. And so I grew up eating Italian food. And you know, when you drive down the main strip in Youngstown, you see nothing but like all the lawyers, all the businesses, it's all like Italian names. And so when I first left Youngstown, I thought, you know, I'm living in different places, Texas, California, you know, with the military. And yeah, I couldn't put my finger on why where I grew up was so different. And it was that Italian influence. It wasn't in any of the other places that I lived after that. You know, not as strong, not true
Right.
organic grassroots Italian heritage. Like, sure, there's an Olive Garden, you know, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
that's not the
Yeah,
same
totally,
thing.
totally different. Yeah, I've heard some good stories about Youngstown, Ohio.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I've read a lot of why it became an Italian community, and of course, a lot of interesting mob stories as well. But
Yes, yes.
yeah,
Yeah, it's true. It's true. There's a large Italian population there, as well as a very large Eastern European population, which is more what I am. I'm a quarter Czech. I'm a quarter, yeah, Czech, Ukraine. So I'm basically half Eastern European. So,
okay. And
so
the other half is
the other half is just a mixed bag of UK, England, Welsh, German, Irish, just a mixed
okay,
bag of all
cool,
that. So yeah, yeah. So
good, good
yeah,
mix.
yeah. It's a decent mix, I'd say.
Did you do like Ancestry to see what your percentages are?
Yeah, I did, and I'm half, yeah, half Eastern European. I think I'm like 8% German, 8% English. The most interesting and surprising was I have a trace amount. I want to say about 3% of European Jew in me, which I
Yeah.
never heard, never knew that I had. But apparently
Hey, three
that's
percent's got to go back a long ways, right?
yes, it must, it must. Yeah, yeah. How about you?
Yeah.
Did you do your ancestry as well?
I did it too. Yeah, it's changed a couple of times, but the last one I think I got was it's actually like 88 or 89% Southern Italian.
Wow.
Um, and I think like 5% Syria, Turkey area.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
then I think the last one there might have been a couple percent Greek in there as well. So, but predominantly Southern Italy, where both sets of grandparents came from.
Oh wow, that's really cool. So
Yeah,
you have a lot of Mediterranean. It sounds like mostly
exactly. Yeah,
that.
all that Mediterranean region. Yeah.
That is so cool. So 88% Southern Italy. So is that what region predominantly? I'm not too familiar with. Would
Yeah.
it be
So,
like Sicilian or?
yeah, 70. So 3 out of my 4 grandparents, they came from Calabria. So that's
Oh,
like in the toe of Italy. And then
with a boot.
yeah, my mother's father came from a little bit more, maybe a couple hours north of there, from the Abruzzo region, which is still southern Italy,
Okay.
just like a little bit, like a little east of the Naples area. But all from that, the typical southern Italian migration to the United States in the late 1800s, early 1900s.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That is so awesome. I think you've inspired me. I need to start planning a trip to Italy. Once
Yeah.
lockdowns are over.
Once this is over, once
Yeah.
it's over, I know everyone's dying to travel, right? Everyone is
Oh,
just dying to.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. We're hoping, right? There's light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully with the vaccine, and
Yeah.
let's hope so, right? Let's hope
Yeah.
we get there.
Yeah, let's hope
Yeah.
so. God, yeah, I can't wait. So speaking of Europe and speaking of boots and all that stuff, I notice you have a very nice watch on. It appears by my eye to be a Swiss watch. Is that?
Well, you're not going to believe this, but this is a Timex.
Oh, really? Okay.
What do they call this one? Weekender, I think.
Oh,
Uh, I've replaced the strap a couple of times, but
yeah,
my wife bought it for me for Christmas. I think like 5 or 6 years ago, because I have a couple Swiss watches, and
yeah,
I didn't want to wear them for like knock around on the weekends, which defeats its own purpose, right? I mean, you have a nice watch, wear it, enjoy it.
yeah,
But
yeah,
so this was just kind of like an afterthought Christmas gift. But I gotta tell you, I ended up like falling in love with it.
yeah,
And it's funny you notice it, because it's like it's a very simple $50, $60 Timex.
yeah.
But I really like it. I wear it all the time.
Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like an IWC. I thought it was an IWC like Pilot or something like that. It looks good. I mean, it has a
Thanks.
good,
Yeah, it's
yeah, it's got a good silhouette, and the strap I think probably accentuates it even.
yeah. I think it's just a generic. I bought it off eBay, and it's
Okay.
funny. One time I was doing an interview at work. I was interviewing a gentleman, and after the interview, he says, "I'm sorry if I was distracted. If I seemed distracted in the interview." I said, "No, you're fine." He said, "Well, I'm a vintage watch collector, and your watch is just really, stood out to me. Where did you get it? What kind of watch is that? Like,
Yeah.
what dealer did you get it from?" I said, "It's Timex, dude. You get him on Amazon." He was like so surprised, because it's actually like, the finishes come off some of the knobs, and it has a little bit of like a patina on it.
Yeah.
So maybe he thought it was something it wasn't.
Right. That's
But
awesome.
it just goes to show, sometimes the pieces you bond to, that you love the most, are not the most fancy.
That's true. It's weird how that works, and price. I think that's a whole other rabbit hole we could go down to. Like price leaves an impression on you. Like when you first see that $700 price tag on a pair of boots, it leaves an impression on you. Like not the boot itself, but the fact that somebody's charging that for this item. It must be good. Like it leaves you with this idea that holy crap, it must be good. Like you said, you're an experienced collector of a lot of things, and so that means a lot coming from you. You've had the best and the rarest shoe and boot makeups, and it's just fascinating to hear that your Timex is one of your favorites, because coming from you, that's even more true, I think, than coming from somebody that's not in this community, that hasn't experienced all the rare stuff, all the cool stuff.
Yeah, it's funny when you really like something. How should I say it? Like I just met up with a friend of mine recently,
Yeah.
who's like a Rolex collector, and
Oh yeah.
he showed me his new Rolex. It's like 18 karat gold, 18 karat white gold. I mean, it's a beautiful watch, right? And it's gonna keep its value, right? I don't know Rolex is that much, but I know that that they're a good investment piece, and I really liked it. But when I looked at it, I didn't get that feeling like, wow, I wish I had it, or wow, I got to get one day. I was just like, yeah, it's a nice watch, but man, I like my Timex, you know.
Yeah.
It's funny how some things, I think I saw a meme not too long
Mhm.
ago, and it said something like the older I get, the less impressed I am with like fancy things or something. Like maybe as you get older, like, yeah, you know, you paid 35,000 for your Rolex. It's, you know, hope it's an investment piece, but you know, it's good. You know, I'm not that impressed, or like you can admire things, you appreciate them, but I think it's as you get older, you're less like, oh, I got to get one day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe just a function of getting older.
Right, right. You're less well, and especially somebody like you, like you're seasoned to a lot of these good things already. Like you've been
Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah.
so the wowness maybe has the veneer of the wow has sort of maybe dissipated a little bit. And now you can kind of see things with it with less distraction, like without the price tag. You've been around the materials and the workmanship. You've been around it enough to now you understand it to
Right.
a rudimentary level. So
Right.
yeah, so that wow is gone. I was into watches. Well, I still am, but I don't buy them anymore. Like I stopped at five good watches. I have 3 Omegas, 1 Tag, and 1 Panerai. And it's like, yes, they're incredible and I love them. If I could do it all over again, I'd probably just get 3 pieces. But I would stop there, like, because first off,
It's good you stopped. That's good. Yeah.
yeah,
Good you
it's good.
stopped that, because that's hard to do, right?
It's hard to stop. Yes.
Yeah.
It really is, but it's so expensive, and that's part of the reason why I don't mind spending $300, $400, $500 on a good pair of boots and shoes, because that price tag shock of some of these Swiss watches is like, it's shocking.
Yeah.
You know what I
It's
mean?
shocking, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
a sustainable hobby, at least for me.
Yeah. It's and like I said, I don't know that much about Rolex, but with the few friends I have that buy them, they tell me it's become even, you know, harder to source them these days, and
Yeah.
you can turn around and sell them and easily make profits on them. So I
Wow.
guess that's a good reason.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good reason, I would say. Yeah, I've never owned a Rolex myself, but yeah, they're very nice watches. I revere the Rolex, you know, and especially I think in 2012 was when the Swiss market jumped by 25%, and with it, all the Swiss watches jumped in price. So at the time, you could get a Submariner for 6 grand. Overnight, they jumped to 8 grand, and they've never gone back down since. I mean,
Yeah, what I don't know, just like I kind of stopped like maybe around 2010, 11. Like I bought a Tag, I bought a couple Omegas, ended up
okay,
I think I bought like 3 or 4 Omegas, ended up selling like 2 of them afterwards. But and then I had a friend not too long after get into watches, and he was showing me prices. I'm like, I don't remember them being that expensive. Like, did something happen where everything jumped way up?
yeah. Yeah, it did. 2012, I believe it was 2012 or somewhere around there. The Swiss market, the Swiss mark jumped in value by 25%. And yeah, with it, so did all the Swiss commodities. And
Got it.
so yeah, overnight, all the Swiss watches just,
Got it. Yeah.
and they've never gone back down. So for example, I got my Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean for like 2,800. That was a good deal at the time, but now you cannot even hope to find it for less than like 4 grand. So 4 or 5 grand.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just, it's outrageous. Like I can't, it's something to do, you know, a couple times in your life, but I can't keep doing that, you know, not with kids, not with other
No.
commitments. And
No. It's nice to have, like, you know, it's nice to know you can have a good quality watch to enjoy for your life, and then be
yeah,
able to pass it on to your children. That's the best, right? So it's something you
yeah,
can pass down,
right.
and well, you can only hope that your children appreciate it, and hold on to it.
And they will, if you prep them enough, they will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's part of what I love about this stuff, because it is heirloom. You know, it doesn't just strike like a chord with your genetic memory necessarily, but it's also the fact that, yeah, I get to pass this on. Somebody else gets to love this after me. So that's
Yes,
another thing that I love about
yes,
all this. Yeah. So
yeah. That's probably like one of the in my mind, like one of the best marketing slogans, like the Patek Philippe, where they say you never own it, you just take care of it for another generation.
Yes, yes.
That's like that, like, wow, yeah, this is going to be in my family for 700 years. So I'm buying this.
Could you imagine? Oh my God.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is so
Right.
cool. I'd hang around as a ghost just to see that happen. Like, yep,
Yeah. Right.
I'll, I'll hunt my
Yeah.
future family members for 1,000. I'm gonna follow this watch around.
That's right. Don't let me catch you disrespecting this watch.
Right, right. I will start slamming windows and
Yeah.
slamming doors.
Tell me about Truman's, because I've been very close a couple times to buying, but I've said I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too and start,
Mhm.
because it's, you just get to have too many. But I've always admired some of the stuff they put out, like really unique. I know you have a lot of them.
Yeah,
How do you find them?
yeah. So they're 70, they're 79 last. Their standard work boot last is, to me, in no way comparable to the Alden True Balance last, but it's just as comfortable in its own right. It's just a different feel altogether. But yes, I love Truman boots. They really have introduced me to a whole new world of exotic leathers that, because Alden, they don't use Alden kind of, they use the Charles F. Stead tannery, for example, for their suedes, their snuff suede, their navy suede, things like this. But Truman kind of, they go after exotic stuff, kind of similar to Viberg. So Truman, what I really fell in love with Truman was they just bring so many cool leathers to the table and make them available. That's what I really love about them. So like their Rambler, for example. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've seen much of their Rambler leather, but their Coach Rambler, their Stone Rambler, their Black Burgundy Rambler. They have so many Rambler colors that are just mind blowing. You look at this stuff and it's like, shell looks in most cases, it looks very classic, very uniform. Whereas with the Trumans, it's like when you look at some of their Rambler boots, it's like you're looking at like a forest or like a maze of, it's literally like a maze of character and texture. And so that's
Yeah.
what I like about it, because it's unpredictable, and you never know what your pair is going to look like till you get them. And yeah, overall, like, yes, I do love Truman. I would compare them to Viberg in terms of their build and execution. I think their boots are very similar. So would I recommend them? Yes, that is one of the brands that I love and that I continue to buy from. But if I'm being honest, it is because of the price. Like, I go for Truman over Viberg because of the price. If Vibergs were priced the same as Truman, I'd probably have equal amounts of Truman and Viberg in my collection.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, but they do a nice job with originality on their leathers, like you said, and
yeah,
they have a yeah, I know they have a great following. So one of
yeah,
these days I'll get into one of them. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And I would say, if you like your Vibergs, you can expect the same similar sort of look and feel in the Trumans, I would say.
Got it.
Just the sizing's a little different. So, like, for example, my Vibergs in 2030 last 8.5D fit way bigger. They're way bigger than my Trumans in 8.5D. In fact, in retrospect, I realize I should probably take my Vibergs in a size 8D.
That's a very roomy last
Yeah,
2030.
yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Recently, I've been reading that they're starting to equate Viberg sizing more to UK sizing. So just take your UK size in Viberg. Don't base it off like your US sizing. So I don't know.
I've
Yeah.
read that as well. Same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Your UK size. So I think but it's tough because you can't try this stuff on in a store. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah, that's the problem, right? Yeah, I know. I think a lot of people that they get discouraged. The interesting thing about Alden is, um, they're all about fit, right? That's why, they don't let, well, I shouldn't say they don't let, but they kind of, if you've listened to Brett Klein, their Northeast rep, talk, he said, they were a little bit hesitant at first, it sounds like, to let the shoes be sold over the internet, because they're all about getting someone into a physical store and let's try on lasts and sizes and widths, so you get the right fit, so you actually see how comfortable these shoes are. Whereas, you buy off the internet, you just, what do most people do? Go in Style Form and say, hey, what size should I get? Right. So,
yeah, that's true.
then it's kind of a crapshoot. Are you wearing the right size? Because if you don't, you could really do damage to your feet on
Yeah.
top of being uncomfortable, right?
True. That is so true.
Yeah.
Nailing your right size is very important. You're 100% right. Yeah. So you heard that podcast too, the Brett Klein on the Stitch Down podcast?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the
Okay,
one.
cool,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I've been listening to that too. Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a great discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brett's so knowledgeable and such a pleasure. I've got to meet him a couple times. He's such a pleasure to talk to.
Oh, really? You actually met him in real life? That's
Yeah.
cool. Man.
I got to meet him when he was doing one of his rounds at some some New York metro stores.
Okay.
Not too long ago. So
Cool.
yeah.
Cool, man.
Great guy.
That's so cool. You've become like an Alden subject matter expert. Like, the people like Uncle Mac, for example, that's I'm still just kind of blown away that you actually knew him, because to this day, he's had an impact on me just vicariously through knowing people that knew him. He's had an impact on me and the way that I approach social media and approach my blogging.
That's great to hear. I think he'd be happy to hear that today, that a lot of the tone on that thread and the way people interact with each other and approach social media is kind of filtered down. And there's so many great guys on Style Forum who are I mean, you think of guys like M Dubs and Mr. DV and JSO1 and there's so many, I could go down a list of, there's so many guys who are super knowledgeable and
true.
It's ready to share. Like these guys, a bunch of the guys I've actually got to meet in real life, and
cool.
Everyone is. It's a great community, and people like to share. People like to help each other out in terms of trying to find things to trade or things to sell, or finding retailers who are doing what you're looking for in terms of special makeups. So
yeah.
It's funny you mentioned, like, that's most people's foray into it. You search for Alden on Google and you get the Style Forum.
Yeah.
And then you end up making a bunch of friends and getting into a good community, and you meet people like Mac who are friends and want to talk about shoes, but they become like mentors. So it's that's a nice unanticipated benefit of all of this.
And you hit the nail on the head. Absolutely. Like the shoes and the boots are not free, but the exchange that you get is invaluable with the people, and it's such a great community. That's one thing, like, because I'll look at I've been on other blogs, like for video game blogs, Call of Duty blogs. Oh my God, there is just some just awful negative energy getting spilled into that. But then you come to the shoe community, the boot community, and it's just nothing but gentlemen. Like you said, it's a gentleman's experience. It's a gentleman's community, and everybody's so nice and civil and just knowledgeable. And every one of you guys is the most interesting man in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Like, you're all the same.
Well, it's good to have you as part of the community as well, man. You're
Thank you,
especially your YouTube videos are always awesome to watch, and
thank you.
I think they're they're successful because obviously you're a fan, but it actually it really exudes from you when you're talking about it, or when you're opening something new. You can see it's not just you're not just putting it out there because you want to be another guy with a YouTube channel. It's like really to show your appreciation and show your excitement and share that with other people. And it's you can tell that from any kind of fakeness that you might see in other videos. So
that's
and it helps grow the community and brand. So
yeah,
it's great that you started that.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you, sir, because that's really the only been my only goal this whole time was, I remember when I was first getting into Alden, like really the only genuine information I could find was on Style Forum, and I saw, all you guys talking about it. But when I go to YouTube, it was like there wasn't any of that. It's like here's a guy talking about the indie boot that, he's reading off like the script, and
yeah, right.
Yeah, and to me that just it didn't feel genuine. And I've even discovered that in some of my own videos. Like I'll type up a script, like a to read out beforehand, and that also translates as like a cheaper message. But I find that some of the best content that I've been able to produce anyways is when I just get in front of the camera and I just wing it. I just say what's on my mind, give my thoughts. And I think that's what people resonate with, is genuine thoughts, not anything that's like scripted or constructed beforehand. It's
actually, you're right. And it, it shows through. It definitely comes through. So keep doing that. I appreciate that. I think everyone else is, a fan for that reason.
Oh, awesome. That means a lot from you, sir. Thank you. Okay. Yes. And that's another thing that I've been meaning to mention in some of my videos, but I forget. Like anybody who enjoys like watching this type of thing, you can do it yourself too. If you have an iPhone, you could do it. Just start recording, and do it crappily too. Like if you don't know what you're doing, do a bad job of it. Just do it. Because like when I started, I thought I had to get everything perfect in one take. But then I realized like, no, I could edit these videos. I could edit out all my ums, which I say a lot. And that's annoying. And I'm wasting people's time if I have a 10-minute video and half of it is just me saying So I'm wasting people's time. So I realized that I could edit out a lot of the crap, a lot of the garbage that I I could get rid of that, just focus on what I really wanted to say. And so yeah, that's another message I wanted to communicate, was like, anybody that's interested in doing this, just go ahead and start. Like you will find a very warm, great community waiting for you on the other side.
Yeah. We feed off. It's funny. I had bought the vintage Indy from Leather Soul. I don't know how long ago that was, and I know you had gotten it too. And for some reason, like sometimes I sell boots for good reason, and sometimes not for good reason. Like I'll think, I'll sell something and say, it doesn't happen a lot, but why the heck did I sell that? And when I used to see your progression on that vintage Indy, and it just aged so well. And every time like I would see you wear, I'd be like, why did I sell that? And I finally, and your pictures finally got me to call them up and say, man, if you guys ever do it again, please put me on the list, because I made a mistake and sold it.
Yeah.
So it's, we all feed off each other in good ways.
That's true. Yeah. In mostly good ways, we can feed off each other. That's true. Well, I'm honored I was able to help reconvince you to repurchase those.
Yeah, I should have never got rid of. I had more regret selling them than like a color 4 shell boot, to be honest.
Yeah. Wow. That's quite the statement.
Yeah.
But I believe it because to this day, that's in terms of my Alden pickups, that's probably number one of my favorite Alden pickups.
Yeah.
It's in my opinion, it is the best indie boot out there that's ever been created.
Yeah, it's a great boot. And you know what? They don't really run it that much, or maybe, Leather Soul is primarily a brick and mortar operation, and they don't like advertise a lot of boots to sell online. I think sometimes they get word of them, but maybe they do make them and sell them only in store. But I only see them come around like every 3 years or so, or
True.
It's not a, tobacco chamois is not a hard leather to source. It's not a difficult.
That's true.
I don't know why they don't make it more. That's a good one. Maybe they do it on purpose. Maybe they keep them rare.
They keep it rare on purpose, probably. Because
conspiracy theories.
Yeah, and we could conspiracy theorize all we want about some of this stuff, because
I heard Harrison Ford called Leather Soul and said, you are not to make more than 12 pair of those boots in 3 years, and that's the agreement. No, just kidding. That's not good.
I believe it. I think you solved it, actually. I think that's probably what happened. Oh, good old Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
He left quite an impact on us, didn't he?
Yeah, I often think, like, I wonder if he knows, like, the popular. I mean, the boot goes back to, I think, the 40s or 50s, but I wonder if he realizes the popularity that's grown from that boot since he wore it.
Yeah, I've wondered that myself. I've Googled that endlessly myself. he hasn't brought it up. He doesn't talk about it. The only story that I could find about that indie boot is that he wore them as a carpenter and wanted to wear them in the Indiana Jones movies, and
That's it, right? He's got flat feet. He's got, or whatever they were, bad feet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be comfortable. Yeah.
Right. Unfortunately, he's one of those guys that I think the fame got to him at, like, he doesn't like to talk about his roles, his Indiana Jones, his Han Solo stuff. For example, I have friends that are active in the flight community, in the flyer community, aviators community, and sometimes they see him around in certain hangars, and he will walk away if you bring up his acting career at all. Like, he apparently, if you see him, like, he wants to talk about planes. He doesn't want to talk about anything.
Oh.
So
yeah.
Right. So
I've read he's gotten a little bit cranky.
Yeah, he's a grumpy guy.
But amazingly enough, he's gonna do the next Indiana Jones movie, which what is he, like 78 years old or something like that? Or
he's getting up
God
there.
Bless him.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that. I can't wait to see. Oh my God, I've been an Indiana Jones fan my whole life, so yeah, I can't. I'm very excited that they're cranking out at least one more. So
yeah, they better. I mean, they've been pushing this one along so many years, right? What's the date now? 2022.
I think 2-3 years ago they were circulating the meme around, like, congratulations, you're getting a fifth Indiana Jones movie, and it still hasn't even begun.
Yeah,
I heard the problem was mainly with the script. They wanted to get the script down. Of course, it's going to be hard to do. So I just hope they do right by the fans. That's all I hope.
Yeah, we'll look forward to that, definitely.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. So I take it you're an indie fan as well.
Yeah, I like them. I actually just rewatched the first one with my son, who's 14. We kind of take it for granted that it's a great series and everybody's seen it. And then my kids are like, no, maybe I think my son was like, yeah, I heard of it, but I never really saw it. So we watched the first one together. And I think he liked it. And then I think we started to watch the second, but we didn't get all the way through it. But
okay,
I think are they on? Where are they? Are they on Netflix to the end of the year or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. I
gotta watch them before they disappear.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I saw them up for streaming. I'm tempted to go through the original trilogy again. So I saw The Last Crusade popped up on my feed for an option to watch just yesterday. So might have to turn those on. Speaking of, okay, not to ask a super controversial question, but what's your favorite Indiana Jones film?
Which of them are my favorite out of the? I think.
Yeah.
I think I always like for a series like that. I always go back to the first, like to the original. Right. I always I do the same thing for Rocky. I was like, it ends up being the first one, the original. I think it'd have to be the original.
Okay.
It's a close call. Yeah. I like the second Indy Jones as well, but I think the first one is just because it has that originality to it. What about you?
Yeah, my favorite is, it might surprise people, but it is Temple of Doom. That was for me, that is the original, because that was the first Indiana Jones film I ever saw, was Temple of Doom.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was after loving, and I was a kid, I was probably 5-7 years old, I don't know. I love that movie. I watched it so much. And I remember I asked my dad, like, are there any other Indiana Jones films? And he's like, yeah, I think there's 3. I'm like, I love this movie so much, you didn't even tell me there were other ones.
Yeah.
So Temple of Doom, to me, what I love about it is it didn't follow the same formula as Raiders. To me, Temple of Doom was a roller coaster start to finish, like literally a roller coaster ride start to finish. I get why people love Raiders so much and The Last Crusade. I get why, but to me, like, just that Temple of Doom, just, oh my God, so much about it. The action, the villain, oh God. So, he still haunts my dreams. That's such a creepy villain.
Yeah, creepy, right? They cast those roles so well. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Pulling the heart out of the guy's chest. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. That's a great scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
So,
Oh
yeah,
man.
so many amazing moments in that movie. The mine cart scene where they're on the tracks, like,
Yeah.
oh god, it's so cool.
Yeah. Great filmmaking, right? It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And of course the indie boot. And I think that's where I first noticed his boots was when the raft scene after they fell out of the plane, but Harrison Ford was sitting in the raft in the water after they fell out of the plane and cruised down the mountain, and they landed in the water, and he's sitting there like all exhausted, and he's got one leg out of the raft,
Yeah.
and it's the indie boot. It's that neo cork sole.
Yeah. You can see it. Yep.
Yeah, you can see it plain as day. And I always thought, wow, that's a cool looking boot right there.
Yeah. What do you, so you have like 50 pair now. Do you wear them equally, or do you tend to gravitate towards the same bunch over and over again?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think some of the stuff that I got that's older, like 5 years old, I don't wear them currently because I'm just trying to put wear on the new stuff, basically. Because I actually got so many new pairs of boots this past year that I decided, like, no, I need to focus my efforts on the new stuff into wearing those in, and it's
Yeah.
gonna take a while. But yeah, so I don't want to say retired, but I put a lot of my original Aldens and Vibergs. I just kind of put them to the back of my closet, and I'm trying to work on
Got it. Yeah.
putting a hurt on the new stuff. So
Yeah. 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 It's been a tough year to try to wear things.
that
And
too.
interestingly enough, like in this pandemic year, it's been a very productive year for rare shell. Like there was, I don't know, like 16, 17, 18, it was a little bit on the light side, but I think
Yeah.
19 and 20, like we saw some color 4. We've been seeing a lot of Ravello and whiskey
Mhm.
way earlier this year, and
Yeah.
it's great. We love it, and it's good for the retailers, but not a
Right.
lot of chance to wear them yet.
Yeah. That's a great point. Yes. And it's funny too that you bring that up because you would think that this pandemic would have hurt a lot of these boot makers, but talking to like Vincent Truman, one of my friends, Adam Grimm, he asked Vince, like, how has business been this year, And he's like, oh, it's better than ever. It's like, what?
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he's got a pretty small operation, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
he does.
So,
He's got like one small factory out in Eugene, Oregon now. They just moved there. And so, but they're selling boots like hotcakes. You know what I
that's
mean? So,
great. Yeah,
yeah,
that's good. That's
yeah,
good to hear. At least, yeah, it's been a tough year, but good to hear success stories at the
yes,
same
it is.
time. They've
Right.
been all over, right? Did he start like in Pennsylvania and then Colorado, or he goes all over, right?
Yeah, yeah. They started out in Pennsylvania. That was one of the reasons why I first fell in love with the brand because I forget where it was in Pennsylvania, but it wasn't far from where I grew up, probably 2 hours. But then yeah, they relocated to Boulder, Colorado, and they were there for I think a few years, and then they up and moved to Oregon. So, and
There
actually,
you
this
go.
is a little known fact, but Vince, the owner, he's actually very much a workman. So I've never actually spoken to him personally. He has his own like farm to my knowledge, and he actually has his own like cheese making business on the
Oh
side.
wow,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's a real craftsman in many ways.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's very much he's a hands-on type of a guy. Like he likes to build boots. He likes to make them himself, and he likes animals too. He likes to hunt. He likes to raise livestock. He's all into all that stuff, just working with his hands. Hard work. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's commendable, and to a lot of degrees, because I work in an office myself, and yeah, I yearn sometimes to be able to do stuff like that, to reconnect with
Ah,
nature, and to
I know, right?
to
Me
actually,
too. The same way, right?
yeah,
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 same
definitely,
way.
yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, office work is great, it's comfortable, but to a certain degree, I kind of want to get out there. And
I know, right? You want to be able to be that guy who can go in the woods with like a toothpick and a box of matches and build a house, right? It's like,
right, right.
some guys just have it. It's just amazing, right?
It
Some
is.
guys just have it.
That's true. Probably most of us do have it. We just, the way things are set up now, it's like,
That's a good point.
yeah, I think we just don't have the opportunity to do it. So that's partly what precludes
It's
us
true.
from.
It's
Yeah.
true. We've
Yeah.
forgotten how to do that. Yeah.
Right, definitely. Well, speaking of, I mean, not to take too much of a segue, but speaking of like different skills and hobbies and crafts, you are a part-time DJ, right? You do like,
Yeah, it's more of a, I guess it's more of a hobby now that I got back into, let's say over the past 2 years. But I
okay,
DJ'd in I started DJing when I was about 18. I met a couple guys when I was in college. One of whom has like gone on to be like a major like hip hop and house music producer. His name is DJ Spinner. For many years, I did radio, I did clubs, I did
oh
some
wow,
events, but then kids came around, and
yeah,
so at the time it was all records based.
right,
So you're living in an apartment, you don't have tons of room for records, so I kind of put it to the side for a while. But I recently got back into it, and I was able to meet some great people who offered me a slot on a community streaming radio station, which is called Maker Park Radio out of Staten Island.
okay,
And
right,
it's a real love of mine, so I'm really grateful I get to do it like every other week on the radio, do a house mix show.
okay. Man, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I check out some of your beats, and man, yeah, they're a lot of fun to listen to. That's for sure.
Yeah, thanks for checking. Yeah, as you can tell, if you watch the stream, I have a great time doing it. I'm always dancing, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's it's a music is a great passion of mine. So I feel lucky to be able to get back in there in some way.
that's awesome. That's so cool. I'm not showing it now, but on my other wall, I don't know if you can see. Or yeah, I'll just turn you around here real quick. I got some guitars there myself.
There we go. All right.
Yeah, it's not
Perfect.
oh yeah, thanks.
You've been playing a long time?
I'm not very good at it. No, I've been doing it since I got my first guitar when I was 22. So about 10 years. I'm not good, but I will say that even if you're not good, it's still very therapeutic to sit there and just strum a guitar. Like
Right.
it's such an
Yeah.
enriching experience. And part of what I've realized too about being like producing these YouTube videos is I don't listen to enough music anymore. And so what I've had to do recently is just force myself to reconnect with music. And it's such a, like, I don't know, just a divine therapeutic experience just to sit there, listen to music, produce music. Like there's just, yeah, I mean, I don't have to tell you, it's
Of
something,
course.
yeah, like you understand it. Like it's something that you
Absolutely.
need. Yeah, you need it.
Absolutely.
It's
You need music in
cool.
your life for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And that's part of what's cool. Like I say, like boot collectors are some of the most fascinating people because, like boots are not your only thing. Like you have other stuff in your life that's also interesting. And that's what I think makes so many like people, like, for example, if you're drawn to this, then you probably are already an interesting person to begin with, you know what I
Right.
mean?
That's right. If you appreciate that, you probably have an appreciation for other well-made items. Like I know there's a lot of guys who are also into like fountain pens or things like that, right? That have um,
Yeah.
intricate beauty and very well made, and are heirloom items that get passed down through the generations. And like you said before, watches.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And speaking of, like, I've gotten into, not to go down this rabbit hole, but I've gotten into some EDC collector gear, including pens, including lighters. So like I've been on this brass kick. So I it's pretty
It's
ridiculous.
cool.
I have like 15 brass pens now, and they're so cool. They're all really unique and different from one another. And I don't even write. I don't write with them hardly at all. But I just like to have
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Right. Just like to have them. That's all right.
Yeah, it's just so cool. And same with the lighters, like the Douglas Field lighters. I did a big video on those. I have probably 10 of those, and they're over engineered. Like they're engineered beyond the point of precision that you would ever need a lighter to be engineered, but they're just so amazing to hold in your hand and to admire. And they're engineered.
How old are they?
I've had, I think I got my first one probably 3 years ago, and I just pick them up as I see new models coming out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a Japanese maker, but the original idea from them stems from the trench lighters of World War II. Like they needed really good lighters that could light in a windy trench, like, you know, in the trenches that they had to dig out, the soldiers.
Yeah.
And they needed like a good metal, hardy metal lighter that can light a cigarette in a trench. And so they needed lighters that were like windproof. That really drew me in. And the Japanese, the Douglas field lighters, they're made in Japan, and these things are attention to detail on the next level. Like, oh my God, they're so, like I said,
Oh,
they're
that's good.
overrated.
I have to look into them. I've never heard them before, so I'll have to check them out. That sounds really cool.
Yeah, I'll send you some pictures and some links after this, and you can check them out. I know for a fact you though would love them. If you know, as much as you love boots and shoes and things like
Yeah.
that, things. Yeah, I think you would love them for sure.
Great. Another thing to get obsessed with. Perfect.
Right. Just what you needed. Just what we all need. Is
That's what we need. Yeah.
Yeah.
Selling all my boots to buy lighters.
Thankfully, they're not that expensive. Like the most expensive one I bought was like $110. But
okay.
Yeah, most of them I got for like $45. So it's not like it's a lot for a lighter, but
yeah,
something that you'll have for life. Like so
perfect. Here we go.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that leads me to my next question. Very serious question here. What's your favorite Taylor Swift song?
Phew. Funny you should mention her, because I am the president of her fan club, so I have
Okay.
you could talk for. No, oh, I don't know if I have a favorite. I did like one of her songs, but I can't remember the name. I'll have to get back to you.
Shake It Off or Shake It Off, I think.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe that was it. Yeah, I think she's incredibly talented, of course.
Yeah.
Great artist, and she's, probably is one that's going to be around for a long time, like a lot of pop stars who are quick burners. But didn't she just put out a brand new album not too long ago? Maybe I'll check it out.
Yeah, she did. And yeah, and all jokes aside, my wife listens to her. Some of her music is pretty catchy, I will admit.
Yeah, my daughter used to be a big fan. I don't hear much around the house anymore.
Gotcha. Yeah, she had some real good hits though for a while. Very iconic artist, that's for sure.
Yeah. Let me see. Let me look her up here. Wow, she's 31 now. See?
Yeah.
Here's a picture of her playing the banjo. See, multi-talented.
Right. She is. She really is. And she's kind of gone more commercialized, more mainstream lately. But when she was first getting started, she had some really good country music. And I'm not into country music, but some of her country music was actually fairly good. So
the one or two songs that my daughter used to play all the time kind of had that country tinge to it, and I thought she was excellent in that genre. Yeah.
Right. That's where she got her start, and then as she got more commercialized, more pop, her music took more of a pop turn. So she's more of course now, I would say. But
good question.
Yes, thank you. And then for the next very serious question, what would you say your net worth is in Aldens currently? Your portfolio worth.
Well, I could, my children are older now, 14 and 15, and I can only say that I have enough Aldens for them to be able to come back at me whenever I say to them, no, you don't need this, or you don't need another pair of sneakers. So I have to say, are you kidding me? Do you see how many shoes are in your closet? You're going to tell me I can't have blah, 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 blah. I can't have another pair of shoes, or I don't need this. So,
right.
How many, we talk about this all the time with some of the guys on the Style Forum board, some of those guys I talk to regularly, like, and I used to always ask Mac about this, like, what's the right number for practicality in terms of what you really need? And that number is very different now during the pandemic, but look, we're all way over that number, right? So,
yes.
if you think about it, even if you're wearing, let's say you're in a job where you are wearing a suit or, dress clothes every day, right? Even if you said, I want one pair of shoes every day, there's 5, right? And if you're saying, I want 2 pair of boots for the weekend and 1 extra for fun. Now you're at 8, right? And
Right.
maybe you want 1 loafer, maybe 1 boat shoe. I don't know. Maybe that gets you to 10.
Yeah.
There's your right. There's a good number. I mean, we're all so far above that.
Right.
If you're a practical person, sometimes it becomes difficult. I think for any hobby, right? If you're a collector, it
Yeah.
becomes difficult. But this is some people collect things and they put them in a glass showcase and they don't really use them or enjoy them. I always say, look, whatever I have, I wear. It
Yeah.
feels good on me. Like we said before, I get multiple benefits from it.
Right. Right.
So, everyone spends their resources, allocates their economic resources differently, right? So
That's
as long
true.
as I guess, right, as
Yeah.
long as you're getting enjoyment out of that, it's right.
That's
I
true.
won't judge you. Don't judge me for having
Right.
way too many shoes.
Yeah,
It's fun.
exactly.
It's always funny. Like I'm on Instagram, but as you see, it's mostly shoes, right? So
Yeah.
when I meet friends I haven't spoken to in a while or work acquaintances, I'm like, hey, you on Instagram? I'm like, yeah, here's my Instagram. And then they check it out and they're always like, dude, what's with all the shoes? Why do you just put shoes on Instagram? And I'm
Right.
like, well, it's not really I really want Instagram just to connect with other, shoe guys. I use it mainly for like shoes and keeping up with like music stuff. So
Right.
I always want to say, you can have it, but unless you want to look at shoes every day, like a
Yeah.
normal person probably wouldn't want to, you're gonna get bored really quick. Right.
That is a great point, and that is actually why I'm on Instagram and why I do the YouTube thing now is because I I learned very early on that it's a mistake to assume that your coworkers and your family want anything to do with your shoe obsession. You know what I mean? Like, because if they don't get it, they'll never get it, and they'll
Right.
never, and it's a burden on them to. If I were to keep just trying to talk to them about this stuff, it would become a burden, and that's why I'm so thankful to find guys like you that get it, they understand it, and they love to talk shoes, they love to talk boots, they love to talk the nuances. Because I'll never be able to have this conversation with one of my relatives, just never. You know what I mean?
No,
And I'm
exactly.
sure you
Yeah,
can relate in a lot of ways. Like,
exactly right. Right. You got to find like-minded addicts like
yeah,
us.
you do. That's for sure. And yeah, like speaking of other hobbies, like I have one friend who he has a $50,000 guitar in his house. Like he has
Wow.
like his wall is lined with guitars, and he has a $30,000 one, a $50,000 one. It's like, you want to talk hobbies? There are some serious hobbyists out there.
Serious collectors, yeah.
Yeah,
Serious.
right into some other things that when people hear about a $500 shoe, they think it's nuts. But then some of those people might have a $150,000 car in their garage.
Exactly, right. That's the thing I say, right?
Yeah,
You may spend 20,000 on a Rolex, or you may spend $80,000 on a Mercedes, right?
right.
So if you get enjoyment from that's great.
That's true.
There's enthusiasts all over the place, but like you said, going back when people look at your Instagram and they're like, because some people are just like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And I've had other friends be like, dude, what is with all the shoes? Like, why?
Right.
Like, what? I don't understand it. I'm always like, you're not gonna understand, right? You're not gonna understand.
That's such
Just keep scrolling.
right. And that's such
Yeah.
good advice, because that's really the conclusion I've come to as well. If you don't get it, I get that they want to judge me, but if they don't get it, they'll never get it. And so my brother, I can speak personally to my brother. He actually picked up, I think, 2 or 3 pairs of, no, he has 2 pairs of Trumans that I think he got from eBay. I think he got one from eBay, one from Truman themselves directly. And he loves them, but it's just not his thing. My brother, he's a very artistic type, though. He's got a lot of guitars, a lot of equipment, and he actually does coin engraving. So he's a very much into creativity and producing his own stuff as well. And he's actually the one that got me into guitars as well. Is it my number one passion in life? No. Are shoes his number one passion in life? No, but he dabbled in it enough to be like, yeah, there's worth in this hobby. But ultimately, we're all very unique individuals at our core. And, what draws us to certain things is really a unique thing. So that's why, like I said, like, I'm so happy that there's other guys out there that get it, like that understand. Yeah. That's what I love about the internet too, is no matter where we live, no matter what part of the world, like I think you're in New York or New Jersey, you said?
New Jersey. Yeah. New Jersey. Yeah.
Okay. Right. And yeah, I'm in the Baltimore, DC area, but even if I was in Indonesia, we could still have this conversation and still have just as spirited a talk, regardless.
Exactly.
That's what I love about, as much as 2020 has been challenging, part of what I really love about it is we can still connect in this way across space and time.
Thankfully we have this. I mean,
yeah,
I always think about that. It's kind of human nature to complain in these situations, but think about the pandemic of 1918, right? How did right? How did people connect? There was no internet, there was no social media. People were not doing Zoom calls, right? It's
right.
In many ways, we're very fortunate in a very difficult time.
Yeah, you're so right about that. And I think in difficult times, more than ever, it's important to really reflect on the blessings that we do have. Yeah, that's what this year's been all about for me. In many ways, it's been bad, but in a lot of ways, this has been a great year, I think, because it's reminded me of what's really important in life. And if anything, from my perspective, I've seen the boot community grow stronger and more bonded over this year than any other year, So
yeah,
I think that's
true. It's true, right? If you don't take some lessons from difficult times like this, it's really a shame, right? These are lessons of survival and fortitude that if your kids are not old enough to remember this, if you have young kids, you can at least teach it to them. And for our kids who are old enough, it's lessons in adaptation that who knows if they'll ever have again, that hopefully will help them the rest of their lives, because it's certainly unprecedented for all of us.
That's true. And yeah, you're so right. And hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. So
I like that. Yes. I like that.
I think that's a mantra we can take away from this year. Let it make you a stronger person and a better person.
That's right. Let's hope so.
Indeed. Well, let's see. I actually ran through the whole list of all the talking points I wanted to cover. Is there anything else for now that you wanted to drop into the conversation?
No, I think we touched on a lot of good stuff, but one thing I'd like to ask is what branch of the military are we in?
Oh yeah, I was in the Air Force, so that was
great.
Yeah, that was
awesome.
A fulfilling experience. Yeah.
So, excellent. Good to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always
great job in serving our country. That's awesome. Thanks.
Oh, thank you, sir. It's been my honor and pleasure. And both my grandfathers were war veterans, so I kind of wanted to pay homage to their service as well by serving myself.
Excellent.
By entering the service myself and doing my part, because I'm a patriot. I love this country, and so that was a great experience, and that got me started, with my career and everything. So
that's great. That's admirable.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Appreciate that.
It was ingrained in me from a young age that, serving your country was a noble thing to do. So that's why I wanted to follow in their footsteps. So
that's great. This was a great conversation. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And the honor's all mine. Like I said, you're probably one of the influencers, bloggers that has had one of the most profound effects on me over the years. And so it's just so cool to finally have you finally put a face to a name, finally actually get to talk to you. It's been just a joy.
Likewise.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And I'd love to have you on again someday. Thanks so much. This has just been the best talk. So
it has been great. Thanks. It's been a pleasure on my end as well, getting to know you a little bit better.
Good deal.
And talking about all the things we love.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, that's
Yeah,
what life is all about, my friend.
that's right.
Yes. Well, again, yes, thanks so much, and let's keep in touch, and let's make this happen some more, my man.
For sure. Yes.
Cool.
Thanks a lot, man. It was a lot of fun.
All
Be well.
right.
Talk to you soon. Take
Thanks.
care.
All right. Bye bye.